overthinking. Now, I completely 100% totally have this unique style.
You still come to the studio like, oh my God, what should I do? Like,
That's not what they decided to follow you. Please try at least to enjoy it.
you don't know what will happen at the end. Probably call to your therapist right now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Art Salon, where we will be talking about the real art experiences, the wins, the struggles, and try to embrace the chaos of being an artist.
I'm Tanya Rivelis. I'm a full-time artist who's still trying to figure things out.
And I'm Maria, the creative strategist who will try to pave the journey to make it a bit easier.
So, what we discussed today?
Uh, since we have talked quite a lot throughout throughout your career and the friendships with other artists, the topic of unique signature style, emerged quite a lot for you as well.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with this one? So what the hell is
going on?
is going on? Yeah, no, that's another topic. But what the hell is this unique style? Is it a myth or something at least a little bit realistic that you can try and have? Uh, is it really important to have one?
Mhm.
And if it is important, and as we know, it is, spoiler, how can you find it? So
Yeah.
that's the canvas for
Yeah.
today. How does it sound?
It's a good canvas. I'm already lost, let's say, from the beginning. So, yeah. Well, the signature style is definitely important, or at least that's a legend about artists having a signature style, and it should be recognizable from many kilometers. People should recognize your work. If it's so important as people say it, I don't know, but looks,
Really?
yeah, I mean, like, there are so many examples in art history where we have artists with style that calls no style, or like artists who are focused on some specific genre, although they change their technique, or like during the history of their art journey, they change the subject, the technique. So it looks like it's not super important. It's probably the way you express yourself and the language you speak on, and I don't know, your visual language, if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. But then, since, well, you are the only case study on this coach, we will be talking about you. In your case, this signature, unique, artistic style, voice, or whatever, how does it work for you? Like, you've been an artist for quite some time, and it definitely changed throughout this journey, right?
Yeah.
It's not like now you have it not like it was in the beginning. So something definitely changed, something definitely emerged. So what is your relationship with the unique self? Toxic, not toxic?
Do we curse here?
No, it's okay.
So you know what I'm glad is that my style, although I still think I don't have any, and I still feel like it's still in the process. I'm still figuring out what I actually want to do, like what I want to express. And it really changes, but what I really love that it changes naturally and organically. It's all started with, by the way, like every artist have this. They have this feeling of I really want a signature style. Like if I don't have a signature style, I cannot be an artist. Which is like it's so it's such a pressure on an artist. And I know so many great artists who are very talented, but they are under this pressure of finding a signature style, finding a artistic voice. And like it happened with me also. Like I'm not the exception.
What?
I forgot the word. Uh, so anyway, it happened with me as well. And for a couple of years, I was not enjoying art, but I was trying to find this magnificent creature, or as we call it, like a fantastic beast. And I really didn't enjoy my art journey at that time because I was so focused into finding it. And then I just realized, And I don't know if it's a nice words to say, like compare it with love, but I have a feeling that actually this is kind of like finding your love. If you try to find it, if you try to look for it, like I want a
Yeah,
relationship,
like when trying to force it to happen.
it will always end shitty. Like you will stuck in some shitty story. So but when you leave it, you just, enjoy the process. You go out, you hang out with your friends, you go visit some concerts or whatever, you do something, and then love finds you itself. So same happened with me with the signature stuff. I just decided I will enjoy, I will experiment a lot, I will try to find new mediums, new surfaces, new subjects to paint, and it happened. Magically.
You say enjoy quite a lot.
Yeah.
I remember the story a bit differently, but we'll come back to this part
I try
later.
not to scare people right away.
No, okay, you enjoyed your part.
You enjoy it.
Perfect. Yeah, let's remember it like that.
Yeah.
So, in a short yes or no answer, do you think you have a signature style?
Definitely.
Short. In a short
Okay.
answer.
Probably yes, but it's
Okay,
still
sure.
not
That's short
formed.
enough. Short enough.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You probably having some, like you said, signature style. For you, would you say it made any difference having it or not having it? And if yes or if no, could you please explain why?
Yeah, it definitely made a difference because I remember just when I started finding it and posting even on social media something that looked like slightly similar to another work, so at least in same style. Although that time I definitely didn't have it, but I had this kind of attempts and experimentation that went in one kind of way. If it makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like what I'm trying to say. And then I realized that when I start having this repetition in some, I don't know, like if it's a color palette or was it a subject or was it a technique, I started having some messages from the galleries or from some collectors who probably saw my potential, or I don't know, who saw that they can collect. And I
Yeah,
think it's
they saw
actually,
you.
yeah, so it probably gives you some marketing freedom, or like you are more easier easier to
Something of
something like that to be promoted on social media. And let's face it, there are a lot of artists and a lot of styles and a lot of beautiful works. And of course, you want to look unique and the only one. So it's a normal wish. Um, and probably with a signature style, I almost said significant style. We have this mistake, but we are not repeating it anymore. So with that artistic voice, I probably were easier visible on this art field. So like,
yeah, not easily, but easier.
easier.
It gives you some extra opportunity to be acknowledged and
Yeah.
to be seen by those. Because when, like, to be realistic for a minute, how many artists are there, let's say on social media, in the world in general and in social media in particular? And how many of them, for example, if the algorithm is pushing you art because you've been liking art a lot, so you're seeing lots of artists, lots of paintings, and the percentage of them being slightly similar or very similar, if it's more about trying to copy someone else's style, not to maybe like integrate it in what you already have. So, of course, being distinctive from that gives you an extra opportunity to, well, be noticed.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's definitely an advantage. So the first one that we see here, it gives you the possibility to be seen.
Yeah.
The second one, from what I heard you saying, is it gives the galleries, the institutions, more options to market you. Because when
true,
you
yeah.
have something distinctive,
It's easier for them as
exactly,
well.
it's easier to create a story around the artist, a story around the style, and to promote it in more interesting ways. Uh, I'm not sure whether I heard you saying that, but it just came to my mind that it also gives you the confidence in continuing to create. Because when, like, from my point of view, when you're at least, I don't know, 50% sure that you're doing something that uh, that represents you clearly and you yourself think it's you, then there is a bit less struggle in, going back to the studio and creating something new. Because when you don't have that and you still try to, find something to justify that I am an artist, I can keep creating, then the push from the canvas seems stronger than the push towards the canvas. So does it give this confidence?
I think you're right. Probably it's not saving you from all the struggles that artists
all. I said
have.
a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. I guess the main word of this
A bit, exactly.
podcast is un poco. So yeah, it gives you. It makes kind of life slightly easier.
A bit easier.
A bit easier, just because you know that like you kind of have a plan in your mind.
Exactly.
Rather it's I don't know, related to art palette, because it gives you like a possibility to create because you have some style in your colors, or it's a subject or genre or something like that. But at least you narrow your fantasies, I don't know, like and form it into something like more visible. It it doesn't save you from all the struggles in the studio. So even if you have all the signature style, all the stuff, you still come to the studio like, oh my god, what should I do? Like I don't have any inspiration on use, whatever. But yeah, definitely it helps a lot to have this confidence as an artist, because you kind of feel yourself. I'm an artist because I can create things.
That's exactly what I mean. I am an artist because I can create something like that's me.
Yeah, that's me.
So
Exactly.
I can represent
It's
me.
just easier to kind of express your voice and yourself through the art.
If you know yourself.
If you know yourself. I still have troubles with that. So yeah, probably call to your therapist right now. Yeah. Was it too much?
No. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, the advantages are very well known. Like, we can understand why is it important to have it. Are there, from your point of view, any disadvantages to having a unique style?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the first one is probably the main one, and the horrible one is that you can be limited by your style, because, and it probably not like, if you would do it yourself without the galleries, if you're just one player on this game, then it's probably not that bad, because you're just like deciding at one morning that you're just, okay, now I want to paint landscapes. I don't like digitally, whatever. But since we are working together in collaboration with all the art galleries and institutions, it's kind of difficult to go out of this game without like a connection to other players.
Exactly.
So when you change your style and you say that to your gallery,
like, no.
no.
Let's be realistic here.
Yes. We have a collectors, we have a buyers. They already know your work, so please don't change anything, and make as more as possible so we can sell them. So probably, yeah, it's definitely a limitation for you. It's not that easy to go out of this game, but some people can. Like, I don't know. I just remember some artists like Richter or Mauricio Catalan or someone like that who constantly changed their styles actually, and didn't give a shit. We're allowed to say shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. And what?
And
I lost my thought. It happens a lot with me, guys. So just bear with me.
Now, there was a very reasonable point of view that sometimes you also mentioned before that there are also examples in the history where the person didn't really have this distinctive style and it still worked, because then you don't have the limitation of the style. Because when you do, yes, it's a very nice I think, more mental skill to be able to shift from one style to another.
Yeah.
Like, Richter or Pablo Picasso, who also had different stages.
Yeah, he was influenced by so many movements going on around him. Of course, he wanted to try everything.
Exactly. So, and it still worked.
Yeah.
Like, in some way, yeah, there were some
Rose
troubles.
period, blue period.
Yeah, but it still worked. Like, we know that it's still Pablo Picasso. So for him, probably the limitation was not the struggle, but for many, when especially you are already in collaboration with someone, you're already on the market, you have the collector base, you have the audience, as well on social media. When people followed you because they like the style, and then one day I was like, okay, so we are trying something new here, but that's not what they decided to follow you for. So for them, it's like the story doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
So, but the thing here is it really, really that scary and that bad to make those shifts, or is it just something in our perspective of the market that you cannot do that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's some pressure from the market, of course. I think that artists would change styles more often if they would be allowed and not limited by these game rules, kind of. Um, and I know several contemporary artists, I probably shouldn't say their names, but maybe they don't, but who still have some troubles with their galleries because they would love to switch to abstraction. They really would love to try something new. And they have this inspiration, which actually artists should have. And we all, like cherish our artists just because they have this kind of crazy cosmic powers to have these inspirations and create something new. But they cannot because they have these limits from the galleries who are like forcing them. And I also know that some artists even opening their anonymous accounts on Instagram or social media just to try their style from zero.
Yeah.
Like they invent new names and then they just start being an abstract painter with a bit slightly different names or nicknames and see what will happen, how people will react. And then probably two options. One, you say surprise, surprise, and then you just appear as like it was me, or you do it organically and slowly. Like one of the artists that I really admire, Henry Kuldalin, he paints figurative paintings with oil, a lot of texture. But I always remember he wanted to switch to abstraction, and he added abstraction in his paintings. But now slowly his abstraction is getting more visible in his figurative paintings, and it's great. So he does it really organically and naturally. Yeah.
Okay, so to summarize, it's good to have a unique style because it makes your life slightly easier. But there are some limitations to having it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now that we have discovered that the style is actually something you might need, let's quickly go through the struggles of why it's hard. Like, even though we know it can help, it's still hard to find that fantastical piece. So I have here a list of most frequent struggles. Let's go and see how many you can get from the list.
Okay, I love these games.
So the first one, finding your style takes time. So how long did it take you to find yours? At least in
years,
on the level that you think you have it.
Okay, so probably a couple of years. I think so. Even like probably 2 to 3 years. And it was not immediately like my style as people see it, or like as you see it at the galleries. But at least I was going towards something that looked like my style that I have right now. Yeah, so 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so it didn't happen overnight because sometimes you really hear, like, I have started painting, I don't know, a month ago, and it's still not me. Well, surprise, surprise, sometimes a month is definitely not enough. Sometimes years. It can happen that it just like emerges naturally or something like that in a short period of time. Sometimes it takes years. And you prepare, exactly. And it also happens often that when you try to force it, like, you do like this because
Something else can happen.
we should zoom to the face of this world. So when you do like this, I will not repeat that. It goes further and further because you're trying to make it happen. But like since you mentioned the relationships, that finding it is like finding the love of your life. When we are, looking like this at every man and every woman, probably that's not the best approach to finding that. So you like it's like the leap of faith. Yes, you can facilitate it happening sooner rather than later, but not trying to force it to come. So not dragging it towards you. So if it's years, then it's years.
Yeah.
Like you just at least like how we say it in Russian usually. I don't know the equivalent in English. You lie down with your legs towards
at least you do something, right?
Exactly. The thing that you want to get, then you already have 10% more chance that it will happen. But don't try to really force it from the universe. So, and otherwise, if it doesn't happen, then like, okay, I give up.
Yeah, and also like I know so many artists who haven't even like I don't know if it's a depression, but at least it's some really mental thing. Like you really get stressed because you're trying to find it, and like every work you do, it's not happening. Like how? And it really like first of all, it kills all the fun. And art should, I know that artists should struggle and, all beauty should.
No. Nobody should struggle.
Yeah, it's actually a fake thing. Yeah. But I mean, like, artists should actually have fun. We are having, actually, I said actually many times, we are really having a dream job. We are creating something from the subconscious, from the cosmic powers, and doing it with our hands or eyes or whatever. So it should be like a act of love.
I will remind you this the next time you say something to me. I will show you
Me
this
calling you
bit.
from the studio. Oh my god! I cannot
Exactly.
do
Go
this
go
again.
watch
I'm
YouTube.
trying. Yeah. Watch. But anyway, it should be fun, right? We should enjoy
It
it.
should be fun.
And I should say to everyone that if you are now in the process of finding your style, please try at least to enjoy it as you do experiment. You're doing an experiment, and you don't know what will happen at the end. And the end is not your target. Let's try
Exactly.
to focus on the previous step, something like a process, because art, as Jerry Sold said, and many others, and I also think that art is a verb. So it's, did I pronounce correctly? Because I saw your face.
No. I was just waiting for you to say this phrase.
Yeah, but it's true. It's an act of motion and movement and process. It's always a process. So it would be nice if people would just enjoy it, even if it's not getting you to the final stage.
Yeah, exactly. And enjoyment is also a very important part of that because when you're not and you're trying to, like shove the task into the brain, like I don't care that you don't want to do it, but we still have to do it. The brain will not just sit there thinking, oh yeah, give me some more, give me some. No, you'll be sitting there, oh, enough already, because it's not something that it wants to share the energy with you for. So you have to find the compromise with the brain in order to make it enjoyable so that the brain doesn't sit there, like not doing that today because consistency then gone. So here it's not as much about the result because you never know when the result is done.
Yeah.
You like I think it's an almost impossible thing to say that now I completely 100% totally have this unique style because there is still room, for it to develop into something else.
Yeah.
So the result is really never there for 100%.
Oh yeah, I think even established and famous artists are never on this final stage like mic drop. Like I'm done. This is the last piece, and I'm gonna repeat it all the time till I die. No, it's never happening. And also like the problem that you have so much influence around you. It was the next one, right?
Exactly. That's the next one on the list. Fear of having too many influences and being overwhelmed.
Yeah, I should say everyone that for a couple of years, no, okay, probably not so long, but half years definitely. I was painting and drawing like Denis Sarrazin, one of the greatest artists, contemporary artists, and he had a stage where he painted kind of like a composition of the hands,
Yeah.
and was really beautiful. I think many artists were influenced by this style of Denis. And of course, I also had this influence. And I think in our house in Germany, we have a lot of drawings of the hands that look like if Denis would sign it, it would be like Denis works. But I had this influence, and it was okay to go through the stage of copying someone or imitating someone is absolutely fine for some time. But if you, I don't like, for example, you imitate someone's style and it sells, and you get into the trap that, okay, it sells, I'm very comfortable, I don't need to think much, I don't need to invent much because I'm copying someone's style. It's a trap, guys. Really, like, it will never get you anywhere.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's from my understanding, and as I remember it from your journey, it helps to imitate. It helps to copy in order to understand how it works, especially when you don't have the education, like the art education, and then you struggle with the colors, with the anatomy, with the composition. So it's fine as an educational tool to do that. But you're absolutely right, it can be a trap. So after a while, this copying and imitating thing, it's better if it becomes like, do you remember this phrase, steal like an artist? Because you don't copy then 100% what you're seeing, but you're taking part and you're integrating it and making it original. You're making it balanced with what you already have, because we're not trying to take those parts, unconsciously.
Yeah.
There is a pattern, like you take something from this, from this, from this, but there is a reason why you're taking those specific parts. So integrating is better than just putting it as it is. So it's totally fine to be inspired. It's totally fine to be influenced by someone.
Yeah.
When you still try to reinvent it as something yours.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, by the way, happens during the workshops, because I've been to several workshops, and after that you go home, and of course you kind of like continue copying what you learned there. But it's really kind of should be a base for something. And I have a couple of exercises, but we talk about tips and
we'll get to
suggestions
that
at the end. Okay, so I'm waiting.
Cool. So the next one, fear of not being original enough. What? Is it an indicator of something?
It's kind of like a fear of every artist, I guess. And it's so funny because, again, back to Jerry Saltz, and I recently met him in Madrid, so I'm
to mention
in love with my life. Like in one of his lectures or a book, he said that actually probably the most original piece human ever made in the art history and history of humanity was a cave paintings, because after that it was actually like paintings based on a previous experience and a previous visual experience and knowledge. So we always copy, we always repeat someone's style, genre, colors, whatever. It's impossible to create nowadays something new. And I know that you have a super awesome example from the literature.
Well, thank you for remembering that. But yeah, there is. It's a very good thing to remember that at this point in the history of humanity, it's almost impossible. I don't know, like 2% of possibility to create something 100% original, because lots of things have already been created. And in this literature example, so good to use my education. Uh, there are several approaches to collecting the plots in the whole massive of literature throughout history. And in one approach says that there are only like 17 story plots. One says exactly there are 7. One of them, by Alexander Pope, says that there are only 4. Which 4? Like not 14. 4 plots exactly. And what humanity did, they took these 4 plots and they reinvented it every time, just put in different details, different characters, different settings, and we have one like main collection of the plot, the Bible.
Yeah.
And that many stories in the universal literature, not just some one cultural example, they're based on the folklore, so on the tales. And that Bible is my pensioner. How do you wear pensioner?
Never.
So that the massive of literature is based on what has been created hundreds, thousands, not hundreds, thousands of years ago, and there's no way to create something new.
Yeah.
So this fear of not being original enough is actually like unreasonable, because there is no way we can be original enough in anything.
Yeah.
Like as people, like I remember Fred is Fred. I remember a friend saying that even as humans, we are unique because we have some patterns, some characteristics that can be met in many people.
Yeah.
But you are the unique collection of those characteristics.
Your unique library of the unique books.
Exactly. So having your unique style is exactly like that. You will be influenced by things. Like as we mentioned, it's all right to be influenced because you don't, live blind. Only if you live blind, okay, yeah, there is a way out of that. That's a bad one. Yeah. You're going back from that.
We can try to.
But so you see things around you, you read, you listen, you talk to people. So you are influenced. You will always be influenced by something, and this will show, but it's okay if you make it yours. Yes?
Yes. Okay, what was another fear?
Yeah, another fear.
It's getting funnier and funnier.
Well, the imposter syndrome. I know you like that one.
Yeah, because I have that one.
Exactly. If I am an artist and I don't have a unique style, am I still an artist?
100% you're an artist.
Of course, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on. So, of course, you're an artist. You are probably on this stage when you still didn't find your style. You're probably on the stage finding your style, or you're an artist with no style, and you just will use some other ideas, concepts, and your imagination to present you as an artist to the world. So it's absolutely fine. But if you're like creative, if you know what you want to say to the world, you're an artist anyway. So there is no artist scene like if you don't have a unique style.
Exactly. This is just something to remember. If you don't have your unique style yet, you're still an artist. So it's all right. And the last one, like there are many more, but we have time only for this one. Is struggling between passion and marketability.
The word that I cannot pronounce.
So I pronounced it for you.
Yeah. Well, I think the big mistake that artists do is that they try to be trendy, which is like, it's a bad scenario. It's a very bad scenario because trends are, especially nowadays, they change so often, right?
Exactly.
You cannot change that often. Otherwise, you're the artist with no style. But it's very difficult. Yeah, but I think it's about the balance, like finding a balance between something you love, something you want to express, and trends or like actual things that are going on right now. Because you live in the context of modern, like not modern, but contemporary life around you. You're anyway influenced and connected to all this thing. Do I say right?
Yeah, you said perfectly.
Makes sense?
Exactly. Finding the balance in that because it's still useful to know what's going on, to know the trends, just to place yourself somewhere so that when you even talk about your art, talk about your style, you know where in
Just
the
nice to be
context you're.
professional, like if you
Exactly. It's
you're
nice to
professional.
be professional, but trying to base the style only on trends is of course tricky because then every season, every time something changes, you're again in the position where you need to find something else. It might work for some, it's just too much stress for nothing. So the style can be based on so many, okay, not so many, but a list of other things which are much more consistent and give you much more flexibility to be you and to have that style not for a year but for all the years to come.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I lost my thought. So
That was very good.
and it's so funny because I tried to say something and then I'm like, but what did I want to say? Yeah, this happens.
Uh, I remember because well, I watched wanted to do that because I watched the film, so I decided I will share.
Okay.
About William Turner.
Oh
And
yeah,
I just
it's a
love
nice example.
I just love the like the legend that he made in order to make his style work because in his times it was all about the realism, depicting the nature as it is, like some additions to that, but it wasn't working for him.
Right.
He had his own ideas how his art should look, but it wasn't trendy.
No.
So all the people around him were like,
Yeah.
"You all right?" No. Like you stick to what is going on at the moment, so that you have some future. What he did, it's a legend.
It's a legend. Based on the
that
movie.
he made. It's a legend that he made.
So all the questions to the
And based
film
on the movie,
director.
exactly.
Okay.
That he asked his friends to tie him to the mast of the ship to then go to the sea with the ship to experience the storm, the ocean, like being right in the center of all this thing because his paintings depicted exactly that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like strictly realism anymore. And so when people were like, no, this shit is like, but this is exactly how storm looks when you are in the storm. You just don't know because you've never been
You
in
saw
the
it
storm.
from the offshore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You saw it from the shore. So how would you know that it's like this? So there was a trend. He was not happy with the trend. He had his passion of how he wanted to be remembered, of what he wanted to create. So he found a way to squeeze that
Yeah.
in the market.
Yeah, it's a great. Even if it's a legend, I think you can still use this as a concept for your future researchers and finding your stuff. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think it's a great legend and a lesson. So
Thank you, William.
Thank you, William. Thank you, William. I
Before we continue this enlightening episode, we would like to say thank you to the sponsors that we don't have, but we would like to have. Dreamy sponsors like Tate Morden, Prado Museum, the amazing art created Jerry's Alts, and Apple. We appreciate your non-existent support and a great hope that this will happen one day.
Okay, so we have discussed whether we need it or not, what are the struggles of fighting it. Now let's finally find the answers of
people
how.
waited for so
Like,
long.
it's just like, Jesus Christ, can you already? Yeah. How? We are moving on to how to find that signature style.
Yeah.
Tips.
Theoretically, this can happen. Well, jokes without jokes. It's actually about experiments. So it's definitely like if you're not experimenting, this is going to be a very, very long way to go to something visibly, any visible changes. So what worked for me definitely, and this is like a funny story that I tell during my workshops or to other artists when they ask me how did I find these crazy colors and textures and whatever. And what happened actually, I was working in Bauhaus, which is in Germany. It's like warehouse construction store. That's how you call it. And the garbage, I saw plywood panels, beautifully cut, some like a panels of plywood, or you call it OSB, I guess.
Yeah, still in the garbage.
Yeah, so as a raccoon, a professional raccoon, I took these plates because I thought, first of all, they're free, and second, it looks like it's a nice surface to paint on. And I brought them home. And of course, it was like experiments because I didn't know. Now I know that there is like some chemical scene that you need to work with to paint on it. So it's not like you paint immediately on it. It won't last forever then. But at the beginning, I was just experimenting with, like this surface, how oils work with that, how nail polish remover works with that, how acrylic works with that, and so on. So, and that experiment actually moved me from copying the classical masters to something more contemporary.
Because it was hard to copy a classical master on a plywood.
On the plywood where you have the holes like that. And of course, like this surface actually moved me towards something more expressive and towards more open colors, like bright and vibrant. So it was actually the surface that helped me to move forwards.
So the key here was that you were open to trying something completely out of the box.
Yeah.
And just to see how it goes without any kind of expectations. Like, okay, I took the plywood from the garbage, I brought it home. My husband,
was very happy.
With me, exactly.
He helped me actually to bring it home.
But you didn't think that like I just have to do something with it. What would happen would happen.
Exactly. It was absolutely 100% experiment. I didn't know the results because the surface, I never used it.
Yeah. Good. I also remember you saying once that limiting yourself can also try to work with this. I completely lost what I was saying here, but
like a medium or
limiting yourself
tools
in your tools, exactly, and maybe in the topics, in the characters, so that you don't try to be all over the place, but you stick to something and then you make it consistent, to give it some time to happen, to then
reproduce.
No words.
Okay. Can I say now?
Your turn.
But is it a time to say something about like what I do during the workshop, or at least I did like during the last workshop?
No idea what you're talking about.
So during the last workshop, we painted one portrait 3 times.
Oh, exactly.
Is it like it's kind of like it's a squeezed experiment?
Exactly.
So we did like 3 portraits. The same person, same portrait, 3 times on different 3 surfaces. It was a paper, a plywood, and a canvas. And 3 sizes. It was a small one, a middle one, and a big one. And it was really amazing to see how people moved from a small one where they was kind of like, still shy, still kind of like trying to show themselves because it's normal for people coming and want to show themselves. And then moving to middle one where they started having some flexibility and some freedom. And on third one, you remember, like people were getting crazy, like they were enjoying the process, adding their own character into this painting. So you could really see how it's evolving.
Exactly. And so while you were talking about the system that we had at the workshop, also I remember people saying that at home they mostly work with bigger surfaces. So when you had the smallest one, they actually struggled quite a lot because this is something completely out of what they are used to.
Yeah.
So they had to find their way in order to still make it work.
Right.
So these are some neurons. Those guys. Those guys, like building up, because then you need to to be creative in order to make it work.
Right.
So sometimes, even if it's a struggle because you've never tried it before, it makes sense to try it.
It makes sense.
Because
Definitely.
you don't know what would, like resurface.
Yeah. And even like, what happened, another thing that happened with me and it helped me. When I had another struggles, like, and I have them, constantly, time after time, with oils. I remember like I started painting, nothing happened. Like it was always a bad painting. And what I did, I changed to another medium. So I took color pencils. And 1 month, every day, I just drew with color pencils, nothing more. Small, bigger, crazy, less crazy, well, but I did just color pencil. And the funny thing, when I returned to oils, actually, I started having that mechanical movement that I used when I when I drew with the color pencil, that strokes. So I start somehow my muscle memory, like I had a muscle memory, so it remembered that movement. So when I switched to oils, I had a new kind of movement in my hand. I started kind of drawing with oils, and it was so unusual because it gave me different brush strokes, different I don't know, like approach. So it was really nice. It was like experiment that I did and helped.
And also, it like what it means that if you feel after some period of time, so not after one day, but after some period of time that you're still stuck, maybe it makes sense to change the medium.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
the previous one is just not yours. And maybe you just need to shift your focus, shift your perspective to something else, just to have a damn rest.
Yeah.
Again, about not trying to force it, like it must happen only this way, and no any other way will be good. Like,
Absolutely.
I have decided this will be this specific thing, but maybe sometimes it's better to focus on something else, give it a rest.
Yeah,
like you did with the oil paints.
exactly. And now I'm actually switching between paintings, color pencils, acrylics, oil bar, pastel bars, and so many other things, just to give this flexibility for my brain and not to make myself kind of tired of one on another medium. And it's always a good thing um, to use different tools because it gives you more field for experiments, more field for your fantasies and to express yourself, because sometimes you can even connect them and work in an unusual way. I don't know, using oil bars and pencils. I have no idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the surface, of course, it's nice to change the size and the surface. Yeah. So there. Another thing. Can I still see?
You can.
Another thing that helped me is like we all sometimes paint from the references. It's not like we all have money and time for live model drawings or paintings. So what I sometimes do is that I take the picture on Pinterest. Like, no way. Yeah. And what I do, and it helps a lot, I look at the picture and I try to kind of like look and remember the facial external features and then paint it, not looking at the photo. So I try kind of to remember what I saw and paint it like, through my perspective or like using my own style or whatever voice, but it helps because you're not copying them. You're trying to kind of reproduce what you saw. Reproduce what you saw. Excuse me.
Okay. Good thing about that you mentioned Pinterest, because sometimes it's been demonized.
Demonized? Yeah. Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been turned into that. But it's actually a great tool if you know how to make the most out of it. So we talked about the influences, like about the inspirations. So Pinterest is basically just a huge collection of inspirations.
Yes.
And the point is not to take something and copy it exactly the way it is, but
You have some problems.
Exactly. But as I mentioned, sometimes what like not sometimes, but what makes this style unique is when you see the patterns. Yeah, they can be of different like foundation, but there are patterns. And if you, for example, you create a mood board on Pinterest, I don't know, with your paintings, with the inspirations from the Pinterest, art, nature, beauty, fashion, whatever. And what Pinterest does, it helps you to see those patterns. So what you actually like, what you enjoy painting,
It also
what
limits you, right?
Like, exactly. And this helps you not to be all over the place and trying to try also many things, but just actually try to analyze what is it that draws you towards itself, you know. So those patterns that can be found on Pinterest is the thing, how it makes the tool useful and not
definitely
demonized. Yeah, not
definitely.
that. So, but it's also a good thing to put on this mood board not only artworks by other artists, but yours as well, to see what patterns you already have.
That's a good idea.
And then those patterns. So it's about consistency, right? And quite often when we say this unique style, that you are consistent in yourself, it's like people think that it's about the colors, the textures, you know, like something that's only about the aesthetic.
No.
But consistency can come from many things. And I remember we were discussing our dear friend Julia Bas, who works in different mediums, right?
Yeah, she works
Oil paintings, performance art, sculptures, exactly. So many mediums, but it's still her because her consistency comes from within.
Yeah.
It's not only about the visual, it's not only about the aesthetic, it's about her knowing what's important.
Yeah. Even the way
her.
she wears clothes,
Exactly. She's very true to herself. She's very true to how she feels, how she wants to feel, how she explores the whole thing.
Yeah, she's very organic.
And it shows in every piece. So when we are saying consistency, when we are saying unique style, it doesn't mean that it's only about the color choice or something like that. It's also about the subjects, it's about the characters, it's about the background that you have, the cultural, the social, the historical that is showing. It's also about the emotions that are consistent. So like you're not limited to just the technical.
Absolutely no, it's definitely not. And there are so many artists who choose, for example, I don't know, like mythology, and they limit themselves into this, like I don't know if it's a genre or subject, whatever, but they choose mythology and then they just, I don't know, create works connected or about the mythology.
Exactly.
No matter how, but at least they have the style in that they use mythology as their main kind of like subject or concept. Or sometimes people can do different things, but using, for example, embroidery or embroidery.
It's not that.
What's that? It's that. I don't like anything. Like they use one tool to create different things, but their style is I don't know, connected to the tool rather than to the color or to the subject. So there are so many ways that you can kind of limit yourself, squeeze into some unique path and use, I don't know, like, it makes sense.
It makes sense. I think it's not about like squeezing yourself into something. It's about choosing from many things what you love the most, what you enjoy the most, because at the end, this will be the thing that will bring you joy.
Exactly.
And as we have
will open you.
Exactly, and as we have established in the beginning, enjoying the process is crucial when you're working on your unique style. And then when we talk about finding those patterns, when we talk about being true to yourself, and being like your art being the representation of your thoughts, your ideas, your background, but then like another exercise, but also a struggle, I think, at some point, that you need to know yourself. So reflecting on yourself helps helps to unleash those things that are already inside and are ready to turn into the unique style, but you just need to do the inner work before doing not before, but along with doing this external work.
But even just came to my mind when I have an excellent idea that even this could be your style. Finding yourself, like finding your like true self, and you could use it as actually a concept
Use it
for your style, right?
It's a very nice idea.
Exactly. If you actually like form it as something like a concept that you are the artist who are trying to figure out who you are, it could be your style.
Exactly. Yeah. So then, yeah, good. So then,
I'm so smart.
The exercise would be, we are stupid enough to say something smart. The exercise here would be to ask questions to yourself. Ask questions about yourself. So what do I actually like? There are too many reflective questions. There is there should be another episode just for that because it's a huge work. We'll do that. But yeah, reflecting is a very important tool when you are in the process of creation.
Right.
And the last tool that I would like to talk about, because we already mentioned them, are the workshops.
It's so cold in my studio.
I know, it's very cold in your studio. The workshops.
Okay.
The last tool. So we know, and we talk about this quite a lot during the workshops as well, that they can be both a blessing and a curse, depending on how you look and depending on what approach you use when going to the workshop. Because if your goal is, like you really, really want to tap into the style of an artist, it's your passion. It's not about the marketability. It's not about the financial elements of that. You just really love the artist. You want to understand their method. So you go to the workshop to copy. Then I have no problems with that. It's a nice concept. Yeah. But if it's about finding your style, just copying from the master. So during the workshop, what does it give you? You then come home from the workshop. Yes, you have studied the method, you have studied the approach, but then what? Like, then you need to do some extra work once again to make it yours. So if the goal is still to work on the signature style, then the goal when going to the workshop is to, yes, learn the techniques, but trying at the same time, right, during the workshop, trying to integrate those techniques because you also have a person to give feedback. At home, not so many options to have feedback, but during the workshop, you have the mentor who you can ask whether it works, and they can, from their perspective, from their experience and background, can see whether it works or not. Because of course, if it's about the copy, then the mentor looking at the artwork saying, yeah, looks like me. It works.
It's not even the mentor looks like me, and then you post and you can see, oh, it looks like another person.
Or that, yeah. But still, having the feedback for what you try to like invent during or reinvent, I don't know, anything you try to do, but with the idea that you're still trying to do something that's you, then the approach is workable. I don't know if that's the word. Let's make it a word. It's workable. What do you think about that?
I think that my neck hurts to look always.
What else do you think about that?
But yeah,
we're nearly done.
But yeah, so I definitely agree with you. So because I've been to several workshops and I really remember that feeling when you're out of this workshop where you had fun. You really had fun hanging out with your people, hanging out with the master. It was really nice. But then you're coming back to the studio and then, okay, I remember how to paint the forehead. And okay, I remember how to mix this particular skin tone. But what next? Because usually, and it's really funny how your brain remembers all that, and then you have all the visual memory of that person, that art, and you are actually like slightly limited because you're trying to reproduce that person's the master's
Yeah.
works, and especially if the master in the workshop you've been to has a very strong signature
distinctive,
style,
yeah.
and it's easy to kind of like get involved and get I don't trapped in
Yeah.
that style. So definitely it's great to have fun there, but then you want to kind of use these tools to create something yours, and this might be a problem. And it's very like it's such a thin border between like coming back and not to repeat and like draw using these tools. So like I don't know, should we say about like our workshop?
Sure, we talk about our workshop.
Yeah.
But we're already talking about our workshop. But what I loved about our workshop,
And it's not a promotion.
and it's not a promotion, is that 16 people painting the same face three times.
Yeah.
3 times the same
I
face.
remember their faces like at the beginning. Do we paint it all the time? Like,
Exactly. And all 16 paintings 3 times.
no, let's not count it.
No method, okay, no method. Many paintings, all different.
Yeah, different.
So each
was fun to
person,
see.
each artist, they had, yes, they were implementing Tanya's colors and Tanya's brushstrokes, but it's fine.
Although in the last one, it was like so many new colors and so many new characters of
It's
the people.
I think because the artists let themselves go, loose.
Yeah,
Because by the third one, they already understood that we don't give a shit that it looks like you.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
didn't want it to look
and I
like
push,
you.
I push them.
I put, exactly. We did everything for it not to look like yours. So, for example, Carly had those beautiful
She's
flowers.
from Australia.
Nobody
She's
had
very
flowers.
brave girl.
Carly did because that's authentic to her, right?
Yeah.
Diana, she had those leaf things. Remember?
Yeah.
Nobody
She still
had
has
them.
it, like, it's really
Authentic
beautiful.
to her. So
Danny had polka dots.
exactly. So the colors, the elements, something that spoke about them, not about you. So all those faces were authentic to them. They were different, but you could see that they learned because they tried to work with the colors in a different way,
Yeah.
not how they did it at home. So workshops are also about having this safe environment to experiment because at home, it's harder to do that because, well,
We always need to produce artwork
exactly
for the museum.
because you need the result. Here, you didn't have to have some results, so they were free to try things.
Yeah.
They were liberated. Well, I hope I say so many things. They were liberated by the possibility to experiment, but it's true. And they could have the feedback from you, what worked and what didn't. So I just hope that this helped them to come home and continue exploring, continue discovering, using the knowledge that they got from you during the workshop.
And not only me, because they had so many like new things to work with, like the marketing tools. They had this personal like coach, so they could kind of be more free and true to themselves, right? And this kind of things, like I think it was a nice complex of so many knowledges and information that just let them be kind of brave enough to continue experimenting and continue exploring.
Come to workshops.
It's not a promotion. It's slightly.
It's not sponsored. It should be sponsored.
Yeah.
So to conclude, I hope we had a very nice conversation about everything. So what it was for me is to understand that yes, the style is something that you need. Yes, there are struggles. Yes, there are problems in the way of finding them, but there are still ways to do that. And it's very nice when you let yourself be free and not just think about the results, but just experiment and have fun with that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And only what I can add is try to enjoy it at least a little bit. I know it's difficult to say because we all struggle, but try at least to enjoy the process and not to think about the end point. And just experiment as much as you can, and it will come naturally because that's the best way.
Exactly. So we hope that you experiment, that you try to find your style. Leave in comments how you do that usually, how it works or it doesn't work, and follow us on YouTube to share more stories, to hear more tips, and so that we
To
know,
motivate us.
exactly, to motivate us so that we know that it's actually useful and we are
Yeah.
doing something good here. Thank you for staying with us. Full freeze. 3 minutos. Вау. Так вот это наша конфликт. По-моему, это точно вышло.